spend a little more time and collect the information and line it up to.
Yeah. Well, he'll have to fix that up. You might say the last 30 years, I guess, ever since we've been out here pretty near, we've spent in genealogy collecting our family history from all the directions. My dad's people lived on a south of Denmark in a little house. I don't know how he and my mom got acquainted, but anyway, they did, some way. But my Grandma Gray came from Riga, Michigan, and her dad had been in the Civil War, which was quite a thing. We have letters that, let's see, it'd be his wife had written to him, Grandma's mother. My Grandpa Gray and Grandma never had an automobile. They always had just a horse and a buggy, and we enjoyed that, of course, going down there in the horse and buggy. 7 miles from here it was. Mara County they lived, too. Well, I don't know anything else, Stephen. That about ends it, I guess. You might want me to tell about you working on the railroad.
You can tell what you know. I don't remember all the days myself.
Is it still on, Stephen?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, I guess I met Daddy in 1932, soon after he'd graduated. I met my husband, my future husband, in 1932.
Action.
Okay. In 1932, I was visiting my aunt in Polk, Ohio, and my future husband came up to, we were making ice cream, I guess, weren't we? Making ice cream, and he came up to Bill and Eva's. He was working for Bill on the railroad. So that's how I met your grandpa, was through that. But it was a number of years. He claimed I was playing with dolls, but I don't believe so. Anyway, that's how I met my husband, and he spent 45 years on the Erie Railroad, making money for us and keeping us clothed and fed and sheltered.
How old were you when you met Grandpa?
Well, let's see. We were 16 when we was married, and 3 years before that. It's been about 13. Met Grandpa when I was 13. So about that. And he was about 18, I guess. 17 or 18.
I started on the railroad with a fantastic wage of 33 1/3 cents an hour. A lot of research in these couple of books.
Yes.
If you were to take and go through it, it'd make more sense than us trying to pick out parts and.
Do you know that Hugh Downs, do you know who Hugh Downs was? That news guy on ABC had been on. Oh, here, there was something in our Parade magazine, so I'll read you. Anyway, Hugh Downs had an article about had a picture of his dad and told about their genealogy. So Grandpa wrote to him for me. And he had said in there he wouldn't answer anybody. But anyway, here it is. Mrs. Dolores G. Arnold, up here, Harding Highway East, Caledonia. Dear Mrs. Arnold, thank you for your letter of April the 1st. Your letter was called out of quite a number I received on the Parade magazine articles because of your query concerning the possibility we are related. It is, of course, possible that very far back we have common ancestry, but since my ancestor George Downs came from England in the 18th century, his will was probated in Monmouth County, New Jersey in 1805, and his son Joseph, my father's great-grandfather, came to Ohio and settled in Champaign County. It is doubtful our U.S. ancestry knew each other. It is also a sobering thought that some of them may have opposed each other militarily during the Revolution. From your letter, I rather think it would be a plus to be related to you, but the connections might be hard to find. Thanks for writing and for watching 2020. Cordially, Hugh Downs, and he signed it. But he lived over here in West Champaign County is Urbana, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ohio, which isn't very far from here. And of course, my people weren't from here either. They came from over there. I don't know that I told him all of my connections, you know. Okay, now I want you to tell him about that and about
I was gonna listen
our
to,
family. No, come on, don't wait till it strikes again.
well, it's after
You want to
Dr.
wait till it finishes now again?
Grandpa, what year did you start working on the railroad?
1932.
Tell him your wages.
Graduated from high school May 25th. Went to work on the Erie June the 1st of 1932. I never worked anywhere else. But during that time I was a water boy, timekeeper,
Tight,
track worker,
tight tam operator, tight temper.
yeah, a heavy machinery operator, brakeman, conductor, baggageman,
Yardmaster,
passenger conductor,
yardmaster.
yard master, 2 or 3 different big yards. And I didn't like that, so I came back on the road as a trainman. Worked there until I retired.
And retired.
One of the highlights was to have been, I hoped to be the conductor on the last passenger train they had. But we had a fellow conductor that was had been disqualified physically from freight, and he came out that day and worked the last passenger train, which I had hoped to, but didn't make it. But I was on the train as a baggageman, the last passenger trains on the Erie.
We since have been involved with the Union Depot in Marion, helping with that. They're restoring that, and they've done an awfully lot of work, and we've given a lot of contributions to that. But one of our highlights, being married, tell them about the kids,
Oh,
tell them about Patty, and
well, I met my future wife through her uncle that I worked for, and eventually we're married, and eventually our daughter Patricia came along, and before long she had 2 sons, Scott and Stephen. I think you met Stephen.
well, tell them about Mark. I thought you were going to tell about
We
both
had
of the kids.
the daughter Patricia,
Became a
and,
nurse.
then a son Mark about 5 or 6 years later. And
Very proud of both of them. Patty became a nurse, graduated, worked a doctor's office, eventually met her husband. And Mark became a military, went into the Army and came back and graduated out of Kent State, got his master's in Heidelberg, Germany, and has been a career officer in the Army, and since has worked for the government. Right now he's in the CIA working, and hopes to retire and move back here on our farm pretty soon.
one of the tragedies in our family was to have our daughter pass away while she was still quite young.
Grandpa, when you were first working on the railroad, what was it like when with the Depression?
Depression? Well, I made all the way of 33 1/3 cents an hour, 3 days a week. And winter we didn't work. So come back each spring about April 15th, the work would open up again.
I thought he was going to say you had to save enough money from that 33 1/3 cents to live all winter.
It wasn't too long until our pay increased to 50 cents an hour.
Never was that great, was it?
And then, of course, when I got in train service, the pay was pretty good. And that's what I really enjoyed. But out of that period, 20 years, I was a yard master, a job that I hated every day of.
What
But we
kind of-
loved the town of Kent
what
itself.
what kind of work does a yard master do?
Well, you know what a railroad yard looks like. Trains come in there,
Makeup
they're
trains.
taken apart and put into other trains and so on. And the yard master supervises the work that's being done.
How many were working in Kent Yard? Had a big office there, and a lot of fellas worked there, and some women, of course.
Yeah, well, I worked in Kent Yard, was promoted to a position in
General Yard Master. there.
Sharon, Pennsylvania. They called it Verona Yard. The pay was better. And I disliked that immensely. So that's when I went back and picked up my rights in train service, a job which I did like.
Then we eventually, they closed Kent Yard, so
Yeah.
that
They
moved.
closed Kent Yard, and of course, that time I came down here and eventually built a couple of houses.
Came back to Marion, we built a house in Marion, 1965, and built a house out here in 75. We've been here ever since.
What year did the Depression end?
What's the
What year did the Depression end?
Depression? Oh,
What year did it? I don't know.
it didn't just end one day, it just gradually got better.
It was after Roosevelt became president. He had
Yeah.
a lot of programs for people that didn't have work.
See, Roosevelt was in office in,
At least 1932, wasn't it?
well, during a period that Franklin Roosevelt was president, the Depression gradually dissolved. In fact, I think it really went away during World War II, when all the factories got busy and railroads got busy, transportation and so on. That's when the Depression really ended.
Was it? You think it was? Did you feel fortunate to have a job during the Depression? Were you one of the few people that had a good job?
Well,
You think?
no, not a good job, a job. That was what I told her, the 33 cents an hour and the 50 cents an hour.
But of course, things were a lot cheaper then than now. You could buy a bread for probably 10 cents a loaf.
Well, my folks would.
And how much was
went,
milk?
to
They
Polk
delivered
and,
milk.
On Saturday evening, and you could get 11 loaves of bread for $1. And now you get $11 for a loaf of bread, almost.
According to